Hey guys, so this is an interesting video because I don't often get the opportunity to travel and shop in the UK since I live in Texas, but a couple of weeks ago I was in Belfast on a trip with my youth group. We actually worked at an integrated college in Belfast and started a camp there, so I taught an art class for about a week. It was a lot of fun. I got to work with some amazing people and it was just a fantastic trip. Of course, one of the highlights for me was getting to go shopping on Saturday. One of the last days that we were on the trip, we went to Belfast City Centre, which is where the Victoria Square Mall is, and a lot of nice shopping places. Of course, we hit up Boots because that is one of the places that I wanted to go the most. I wanted to go to Superdrug too. We didn't quite make it there though. So I wanted to show you all of the products that I got, mention a couple other places that I hit as well, and work through some of the products and show you how they're performing. A lot of these came from recommendations of other YouTubers. So I would say that if you are planning a trip to the UK and you want to do some research, just look on YouTube and find videos of other UK YouTubers who do hauls, who recommend certain products. There are so many products out there that are not available in the United States that you must try, and hopefully some of those you'll see in this video. So let's get cracking. So the first thing I picked up was actually in a store called Everything's a Pound, and I got this cute little Vaseline Rosy Lips Balm that comes in a tin. I think I have this exact product in the little pots that you can get at like Walgreens, but I just like the sort of vintage look of this, and I love a good lip balm. I have way too many, but I guess I just figured I need another one. I'm gonna put this on now before I actually apply the rest of my makeup, just so my lips can have a little bit of moisture. One of the things I picked up on the trip to Everything's a Pound, besides a ton of candy for my niece and nephew, was this body wash by Original Source in Zesty Lemon. Lemon and Tea Tree. And I had seen another YouTuber named Viviana Does Makeup talk about this particular brand, and I just wanted to pick it up and give it a try. I love a good zesty body wash, so why not? So after that, we went to Boots, and that of course was the main goal of the shopping trip, was to go to Boots. So the first thing I'm going to show you today is the Bourjois Healthy Mix Serum Foundation, and I picked this up in the color Vanilla. Now they had quite a few shades and I wasn't exactly sure which one I should get, but I just they have testers, so I just sort of put a few on my hand and tested out what I thought would work, and it turns out that it actually is a really good match. So it comes with a little pump like this, and it's actually a fairly lightweight foundation. So I sort of just pump a few pumps out, spread across my face like this, and then I'll use one of my Real Techniques brushes to blend it out. What I like about this foundation is that on the days when I don't care too much about a ton of coverage, I think this is a really good choice. Especially in the summertime here in Texas, where it is already getting to be in the upper 90s, almost 100 degrees. You really don't want anything that is going to feel really heavy, really cakey on the skin, because you're sweating and it's just not a good feeling. Things that I might wear in the wintertime and would feel totally fine in the summertime can be just really, really heavy on the skin. And this foundation actually sits really lightly on the skin, but it still does offer enough coverage. You can see it sort of got rid of a lot of the redness that I had. It's not so much coverage that it looks, flawless or fake or anything like that, which I tend to prefer. I'm not trying to cover up too much. I just want to sort of even out my skin tone. And I'm applying that with my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush, and it does the job really well. This is in the shade 52 Vanilla, and it's marketed as a gel foundation, which I could definitely get behind because, like I said, it feels very lightweight on the skin. Once I blend it out, I really don't feel like I have anything on my skin at all. It just offers that really nice coverage and an evenness to the skin tone, which is what I'm looking for on sort of a day-to-day basis. Now, if I want a little bit heavier coverage, I have other foundations I can turn to, but I definitely think this is one that I really enjoy. So I went ahead and added just a little bit of translucent powder to set, because that foundation does have, I wouldn't say a dewy finish, but definitely has a skin-like finish, and I just powdered a little through here and under my eyes to set my concealer. Now, I also picked up the concealer while I was there. I've heard tons about the Collection Lasting Perfection concealer, so I grabbed that in light. I do feel like it's a little bit too light for me as far as like right for under the eyes, because in order to conceal my dark circles, I first have to use a corrector, and then I also have to use a skin tone concealer that matches me pretty well. This one's a little bit light. However, I do really like it to go on my eyelids, and then just a little here to highlight, and in my inner corners. And it has a really nice consistency. I could see where if the color matched me really well, that it would be a really good concealer. It has a nice thick consistency, but it spreads really evenly. And I really could see why people like this one. I just wish I had gotten maybe one shade darker. It's just so hard to tell sometimes when you're in a hurry and when you're sort of in that buying scenario, you're just not quite sure what to do. And typically I go with the lighter one. Like I said, I think it works really well as a sort of foundation for my eyeshadow, and it really blanks out the canvas, gets rid of any veininess that's on my eyelid, and it has a really good finish. So I've been using it for that, and it was such a cheap buy anyway. I don't mind that it wasn't a perfect match for me because I can find a use for it for something else. Before I put on my eyeshadow, I am going to go ahead and show you the blush that I picked up, and this was something that I've been wanting for a long time because it's just so darn adorable. It's one of the Bourjois blushes in the little tiny packaging. It has a little magnetic closure here and a mirror inside, and it looks sort of like a baked blush. I do hear a lot of people talk about these blushes, and one of the things that some people don't like is that they have a scent. And if you do, you know, smell it in the pan, it sort of has an old lady fragrance, like an old lady perfume smell, but I don't notice it once I have it on, so that's not really a problem for me. I got the shade 95 in Jasper Rose, and I just thought it was a really pretty sort of neutral pink color that had some golden tone to it, and I just thought it would be a really nice sort of everyday blush. That was my main goal in this, was finding stuff that I could wear quite often, and you'll see in the collection that I picked up that stuff that I could wear on an everyday basis. So I'm just going to take my Real Techniques blush brush and get a little bit out of the pan here. It's not an overly pigmented blush, which I really appreciate. I don't like when blushes are just like crazy pigmented because I find them sort of difficult to apply. But with this one, I feel like I can build it up, and it has just a little bit of a sheen to it. Not too much so that it makes your pores stand out or anything like that, but just enough to where it gives you a little bit of glow, and it's just such a pretty everyday color. But I'm definitely a fan of these blushes, and if I can get my hands on more, I will be picking some more up because they're just so stinking adorable. Now I know Bourjois is a French brand. Of course you can find it like I did in the UK, but I believe that you can order some stuff online. I don't know that the full range is available, and it might be a little bit pricier because it is coming from Europe, but if you were really into it and you really wanted to find something, you could probably look online to see what was available. Also couldn't pass up this adorable little powder from Bourjois. Now they have several different powders. This is the Universal Illuminating powder. So you can use it as a setting powder, but it does have a bit of shimmer to it. I don't really mind that. I think it looks quite nice sort of under the eyes, maybe brushed in certain areas of the face, and it's a subtle enough shimmer that it's not going to be completely overpowering. It does again have that scent like you have in the pressed blush, but like I said, it doesn't really bother me after I've had it on for a few minutes. I just really like the vintage packaging, and this is commemorating their 150th anniversary. The powder has sort of a pink tone to it, which is really great for brightening, and so that's why I wanted to pick this one up, and I just thought the packaging was too cute to pass up. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this and use it as a highlighter, and I'm using my e.l.f. small tapered brush, and I'm just putting a little bit of that on and dusting it on the tops of my cheekbones. Very subtle, but I love this highlight for every day. You know, if you're going to work or something, you don't necessarily want to look like a disco ball, but you do want to look really highlighted and fresh, and I think that this powder does that in a nice subtle way. L'Oreal is a brand that I was particularly interested in looking at while I was in Boots because they have quite a few products that are sold in the UK but not sold here. And one of those are the line of little single eyeshadows. This is not something that's sold in the United States, at least to my knowledge. I've done some searching in store and online and have been able to find them, and I've heard from several British YouTubers that these are really good eyeshadows, and so I picked up a color that I thought was really pretty. It's called Lumiere, and it's sort of a peachy pink color. I'm not going to be wearing it today because I have a different eye look that I'm going to do here in just a minute with a palette that I picked up, but I did want to show it to you and sort of swatch it because it's such a cool color. It's a duochrome. It has that sort of peachiness but also the really nice gold shimmer running throughout. It's not glittery but just sort of has a nice sheen, and I love this as a one shadow look. look. So on days when I'm just sort of quickly running out the door and I just need to put a little bit of something on my face, this is the color that I've been turning to because it's applied, when applied with your finger, it's really pretty. It has a nice shimmer to it, but it's not too overpowering, and it just sort of brightens up your face. So if you live in the UK, or if you know where these can be purchased here in the United States, definitely let me know what colors you have found and which ones you like, because I think this is a really great product, something I wish that was sold here more readily. Another brand that I really wanted to try is Sleek, and I know this is something that you can actually order online. Sleek's a product that, or a brand that's sold online, but not everything is available to us. And also I really enjoy being able to swatch and look at the color selection before I purchase something, and sometimes online that's really tricky. So at Boots, while I was there, they were having a buy one get one half off sale, so I actually picked up 2 palettes. This first one is the Vintage Romance palette, and I really love this one. It's super pretty. It comes with 12 shades, and you can see here that the color names are not printed on the actual palette, but you have a little plastic sheet that comes with it. I wish they were on the palette, but you know, these palettes are really inexpensive, so that doesn't bother me too much. I wasn't interested necessarily in great packaging, but rather the product inside, because I've heard excellent things about these Sleek eyeshadows, and let me tell you, I have not been disappointed. I have played so much with these 2 palettes. I'm going to use the other one here in a minute to show you an eye look that I really like, but this particular palette, the Vintage Romance palette, is just gorgeous. Now I will say I wish there was a couple of lighter shades in it, just so it could be a palette that I could use fully to create a look. You can see here that it's really missing a light color, but the colors in this are just absolutely beautiful. The metallics here on the top row are stunning. I love the variety of purples and violets that you get. And then this color here in the top right corner is actually really great. Blending color or a transition color, and sometimes I've just been wearing that on its own as well. It's just really gorgeous warm brown. So I'm not disappointed at all in this palette that I picked up, and in fact I will definitely be looking into getting some more Sleek palettes. The other palette I picked up is the Ultramattes 2 Darks, and I was really interested in this because the color selection was just so different than anything that I have. I love matte eyeshadows. It's one of my favorite things to wear, and it's what I'm going to be putting on today in this Haul-Torial. And I just thought the color selection was really beautiful, and I liked that it had a white, a cream, it had some violets, it had some warmer browns, some teals, like dusty colors. I just think it's a really interesting color palette, and I feel like I can do so much with this. And again, just like the shades that were in the other palette, these are wonderful. They blend so easily. They're just amazing eyeshadows. So what I'm going to do is put on a little bit of a simple look that I've been wearing here and there since I got back from my trip. I'm going to start out by doing sort of a gradient from Pillow Talk to Dune, starting with the lightest shade and going to the more yellow shade on my lid. And I'm just using sort of a flat shader brush for this. So I'm using the white as my highlight. And then going into that Dune color for the lid. And I feel like putting down that base first sort of makes it easier to blend the other colors that I'm going to add on top. The next thing I'm going to do is take the color Maple and a blending brush. This is my Sigma E25, and I'm just going to put that through the crease. I absolutely love this color. I don't have anything like it. It's a really warm color without being red, and I think if you had green eyes, this would be really beautiful. My eyes can tend to lean a little bit hazel sometimes if I wear the right colors, so I think this is a color that sort of makes them do that. And you can see how easily it blends. Again, just sort of running that through the socket line all the way across, tapering it as it gets closer to the inner corner, and then putting just a tiny bit on the outer part of my lower lid. I'm also going to take that on the same brush and just sort of look up and stretch my face out to put it under my lower lash line. Not too much, but just a little. Then I'm going to take just the tiniest bit on the same brush of the color called Villain. It's this really deep plum. I'm just sort of like tapping it onto there. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit of that in the outer corner. And you can see like the difference. It just sort of darkens it or deepens it up a tiny, tiny bit. I'm not trying to do an overly dramatic look or anything. Like I said, this is just sort of something that I would do on a quick everyday basis. So just adding that to give a little bit of depth to the outer corner. I'm gonna go back to that flat shader brush that I was using at the beginning and a little bit of that pillow talk color and just do right on the inner corner. And then lastly, I'm going to use this flat side of my Equal Tools Blend In Smudge Brush with the Villain color again, and I'm going to mix in just a tiny bit of Noir, which is the black. And just do that right on the outer corner. Just to give a little bit of definition to the eye instead of using a liner. I love this brush for this purpose because it keeps me from wanting my liner to be too exact. If I use an angle brush, then I tend to want it to be too perfect. And this just gives me a nice little defined, loosely defined edge to the eye. I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of that Dune color and just add on my lid just to brighten up anything that might have gotten blended away. And then that's pretty much what I do for that eye look. Now there's a ton of other looks that I've been trying, and I'm planning on doing a tutorial with both of these palettes, so look for those in the next month or so. But for now, this gives you an idea of the sort of blendability and the color range of the product and also how the pigmentation is. I definitely recommend these palettes.